Okay, they lied to you about money. Imagine that. You don't even know how deep this lie goes, but they really did. Trust me, I have just for the past hour and a half been on two sales calls, closed both deals for $4,000 and made $8,000 in total cash collected in the past hour and a half. While you probably work a job, go to 9 to 5, work 50 hours a week, 200 hours a month, and make $3,000 to $4,000, which is half of what I made in an hour and a half in revenue. So, with that being said, they lied to you about it all. It's kind of crazy, but the lie goes pretty deep. And I'm here to hopefully just give you the reality check you need to realize that you shouldn't, not that you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, but you have to understand that if you keep going down this path, you're going to be a part of the system. And if you want to break out of that system, there's a couple of things you have to do and understand how money actually works. And most of you feel like money is way too complicated. It is really not that complicated, but you guys really make it out to be so you can have an excuse of why you don't have it. It's the same thing as going to the gym. You see a guy at the gym, he's shredded, looking fucking massive. Everything is good. And then you just like blame it on genetics, you blame it on something else, but that's not really the case. What the case actually is the dude is up at 6 a.m. He's working hard, pushing himself harder than last time, if you guys know Greg. But essentially, he's putting the work in to get the results of what he has, right? Obviously, that's something that takes time, but the same thing can be said with money. You just making an excuse for why you wouldn't want to go to the gym at 6 a.m. and put the work in is the reason why you don't have the body. Same way goes with money for you to make it an excuse that, oh, money's complicated, business complicated, etc., etc. That's why you don't have it. To be fair, it's really not that complicated. And the reason why it's not is because you already know how to make money. You just have to realize it and apply it to other aspects of life. What I mean by this is that when you go and make your $4 or $5,000 a month with your regular ass job, nothing against that, by the way. I've literally been there myself and still to some extent am. It is the case of you are spending your time to get somebody else a result, which then in return gets you money, right? So what you need to realize is this was a big realization for me. Why are you out here making other people money instead of making that money for yourself? And now people are going to be like, oh, but that means you have to start a business. That means you have that. No, no, at the end of the day, even if you had a business, even if you're working for somebody else, you're always going to have to give somebody else value for you to make money. Because even if you have a business, you still, that business you have still has to provide some sort of result for somebody for you to be able to get that result, right? Or excuse me, you have to provide a result for somebody for you to be able to get that money, right? So money is never going to just be handed out to you just because. And a lot of people think that when they start businesses, when they do all these things, you think that money's just going to fall in your lap because you run a business. It's not how it works. You're running a business because you want to provide value, and money is purely just like an exchange of value. So you give this result to somebody and they give you money. Just like when you're working, let's just say you work at an ice cream shop to keep shit simple. You make ice creams for customers and in return, you get money, right? So when you realize this, you can apply this to your own life and start getting results for others in exchange for money, right? So when you realize that it's crazy how jump on a Zoom call with a random person that I've never even seen nor known, talk with him for 45 minutes, and he pays me $4,000 for a service and a result that I will give him. That's when you realize that money is not real and that it can literally be made very easily. So what I mean to say with all this, right, is that you can apply this same logic to yourself and to your own thing. You just have to realize that instead of doing it for somebody else, you can do it for yourself and get somebody else results, right? Because if I can sit there for 45 minutes and make $4,000, why do you have to sit there and work a whole month just to make the same amount of money, right? It's because of the value you provide. So you have to be able to solve a big problem or a important problem that people are willing to pay for, right? So most of you guys are in a position where you're just complaining because you don't want to learn the skills. You don't want to actually get somebody else that result because it's hard to get them results. If it was easy, they wouldn't have paid you for the result to begin with, right? Kind of mind blowing, but I swear to God, it's not. It's I'm a it's ironic, right? So here's the thing. You have to understand that if you want to be able to make this kind of money, you have to provide a big result for somebody, right? So instead of complaining about not wanting to do this, that, or the third, you should have and learn a skill set that can provide a result that people are willing to pay for. And I know a lot of this just sounds like common sense. And quite frankly, it might also be. But if there's one thing I can say, it's that common sense is not all that common. That's for fucking sure when it comes to money, right? So I want you to realize that everything you've heard about money and everything you've learned about money usually is just a lie because most people just say a bunch of BS when it comes to money. But it can be very easily simplified in just an exchange of value, and you have to provide that value to that person in a good manner so that he's willing to pay you for it. And the higher the result, the higher the value, the higher amount of money, the more money they're going to be willing to pay you. It's not really that complicated. It can be broken down very simply. Now, is it always that easy? No, it's not. Those are two very different things. Something being simple, something being easy are usually correlated, but that's not the case whatsoever because it's not easy to make a lot of money. In extension, it requires you to learn a skill, be very good at that skill, provide a result, get a very good result, etc., right? Those things are not easy. Those things take time. Those things take effort. But at the end of the day, dude, once you realize this was a big wake up call for me. Once you realize that you'll either just stay there and make somebody way more money and you're saving them with 4K a month, or you can actually provide a big result, learn the skill, provide a big result for somebody else outside of your work and make more money, right? That's how businesses are built. It's pretty crazy to me because I'm talking with these guys and closing them for $4,000. They're regular ass dudes just like you and me. One of the guys was making 7.5K a month, and the other guy was barely making 4K a month. So he basically spent a whole month's salary on a result that he once provided from me, right? Just picture that. Most of you wouldn't be able to do that. Or most of you probably would, but you wouldn't dare to because you're too much of a pussy, right? And that's just being straight up. So you have to realize that if you can provide somebody a big result, you will make money off of it. But everything you've heard about money so far is probably just the case of that's not how money works. Why would anybody pay $4,000? I would never pay $4,000, so why the fuck should somebody else pay? All these things are just quote unquote limiting beliefs that hold you back before you even started. And that's the worst thing you can do is go into something with a half-ass mindset. Because if you're going to be half-assing this, one foot in, one foot out, you won't get the results you want. And if that's the case, I'm the first guy to tell you don't do this shit. Like, I swear to God, don't even do it because you won't get the results you want. You'll just get disappointed and everything goes downhill from there. Now, if you are actually 2 feet in and do this properly, then obviously the results will be correlating. You have to understand that you have to bring results to the table. Why would anybody pay you and give you money for anything if it doesn't give them anything in return? At that point, it's just a fucking donation. And even donations are always sometimes done for something in return, whether that be feeling good, or something. Even when guys are just like donating money to charities, they're donating the money because the charity is doing something well, and that's giving them a good feeling, or they feel like they're doing something that is good. Even that is some sort of value. Nobody would ever just give you money for no fucking reason, bro. When are you guys going to realize this? Nobody's out here just giving you money. It's so fucking crazy to me. So many guys are just like starting agencies, doing all this shit, and just like contacting people, acting like they can fucking run their ads or edit their videos and shit. When you basically provide 0.1% value, nobody's gonna pay you because nobody cares. Nobody cares about the result you bring them. That like you're making no difference to their lives. Like, what the hell, bro? You have to provide some sort of result that people are actually willing to pay for because it is an impactful result or impactful dent into their business, into their lives, into whatever. Gosh, bro, some of you guys are fucking brainwashed because you don't understand money. And I get it, bro. Like it's not easy, but I hope this kind of gives you a bit of a reality check. I know this is a rant, but I just want to give you guys some sort of value off of this video so you can realize how money works and don't be trapped by all the lies of them telling you that that's not how money works. Nobody would ever pay that amount, etc. Because that's not the case. Just think about all the stupid shit you bought, or whenever you spend money, just ask yourself, why did I just spend that amount of money? Like, why? And then ask yourself, and then answer that question. Ask yourself again, okay, but what does that matter? Etc., etc., etc. And then you kind of dive back deep into this hole and you realize that there's a lot more to it than just an exchange. You realize why you pay, why that result matters to you, so on and so on. And then once you understand the why question, you can curate this for yourself and look at it from a third person's point of view. What if you have a service? Ask yourself, why would somebody else pay me? And then you can put yourself in their shoes and realize the experience they're going to have when they pay you, and why they pay you, and why they care to pay you instead of somebody else, and all these things. Once you have all these answers, and you know this, it's way easier for you to curate something for yourself that is going to make sense for somebody else. And then you pretty much control your own income. Hope this helps. Catch you guys next time. Take care.